Yeah, my name is Stephen Callahan. I am from Jonesborough, Tennessee, Washington County. Born and raised on the Nolichucky River, Highway 107. Did I just fuck that up?
No, good.
Yeah, man. So I think the first time that I made whiskey, proper, I was in my late teens. Although I was pretty much exposed to it. From an early beginning in my childhood, growing up in Appalachia, I like to say that I was cultured a lot in a lot of ways that a lot of kids aren't done these ways. I grew up, on a farm on the river. My parents had me a little later in life, so I was the youngest of three brothers. My dad was a little older as well, and so I grew up around a bunch of mischievous old men, for lack of better words, and so I was exposed to Appalachia in kind of a different lens than even kids my age at that time. And so, yeah, fell in love with it, found my passion pretty early in life, and decided, went to college and majored in biology and chemistry, and kind of did that for a couple years, worked at Eastman Chemical Company, and, corporate America just wasn't my thing at the time. And so, I was in 2009 when they changed the law to actually allow, distilleries to distill outside of a couple counties in Tennessee. And, you kind of seen the explosion down in Gatlinburg and Sevierville and those areas. I was already kind of thinking in the back of my head, man, this is something that I want to do for a career. And, back then, there was only so many distilleries and it was kind of hard to get your foot in the door. And so this whole entire time, I was making a hell of a lot of moonshine. I loved it. I think that's kind of what really gave me the entrepreneurial bug is, and I love the outlawness of it. I love, the thought of doing something illegal and getting paid for it. It's kind of runs in my family genes, if you know anything about my family growing up. And so I fell in love with it. And I decided right then and there that's what I wanted to do. And so finding the job was a little difficult, but Jessica and I found the Salt House in 2013, and I really knew right then and there that perfect location, perfect building, and we decided to jump off and go all in on it. Jessica was right there by my side the whole entire time, and so it was a big risk at the time, man. It was a big risk. We bet on ourselves. We bet on Jonesborough. We bet on, the location. We bet on the brand that Jessica and I took a lot of time putting together. The name Tennessee Hills, the logo, it's not just any logo. It's something that means something particularly to me because it's a rendition of my family crest with a couple of personal keynotes in there, like my dog Jack and the big beech tree on the logo, which was a huge tree in my backyard growing up. And so it's actually the silhouette of that tree. It's the silhouette of my dog Jack. And so something that I could personally get behind and really strive to do something with every single day. I think that's one of the driving forces behind why we were so successful, because once we cut that Eastman cord, there was no going back to corporate America. We were on an island. We were by ourselves, and we just wanted to prove the world wrong that a couple 25 and 26-year-old kids could actually make something out of ourselves and out of our brand. And I think that's what we've done over the last decade. So the Salt House, if you ever been there, it's very iconic. It's on top of a hill. It's right by the train tracks. It's got a lot of history to it. I went in there as a younger kid with my parents, and it was like a consignment shop. And I remember, walking through that building, and I wasn't really interested in all the antiques and stuff they had in it at the time. I was just amazed by this hand-operated elevator. And so that's one of the things that I remember most about walking in there when I was very young was the hand-operated elevator, just a cool old building. It smelled like a cool old building. It had the big wooden beams, and the train was going by every 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm like, man, I love this building. And then, it sat empty for really long periods of time. So 1840, the building was built, and then, it played a pretty key role, pivotal role, crucial role during the Civil War. And, the train tracks came through town in 1859. So that's why the train tracks were so close to the building because they couldn't necessarily just move the building to build a train track. And actually, that's one of the reasons they decided to put salt in it during the Civil War, because it was so close to the train tracks. They just unloaded the train from Saltville, Virginia, and then filled it up, and then it was one of the most heavily guarded buildings in town during that time. And so it had a lot of historical significance to it. You go in there, still to this day, you'll see the iron bars that are still the hand-forged iron bars that are still over the windows. When Jessica and I got it, it sat empty probably for about 20 years. We got it, actually had dirt floors. And so we walked in, dirt floors, the roof was caving in. That musty smell of just raw dirt and four walls and, molded bricks and everything else. And then we were just dumb enough to look at each other and say, hey, we could actually make this into something. And so I gotta give a shout out to Doug Lowry. Doug was actually the owner of the building at the time. And, Doug was a very successful local businessman. And, I went to Doug and I kind of pitched him this idea. So let's open a distillery in downtown Jonesborough. By the way, I'm like 25 and I have no money at the time that I could legally report. And so Doug actually owner financed that building to me and Jessica in 2013. And so that was a really cool thing for him to do. That was less money that we had to come out of our pocket to be able to build Tennessee Hills. We could focus on the brand, the equipment, the product, and we had really good bones in that building. We had a very good foundation to build something off of. And but yeah, man, we brought that building back to life. Pretty much all the way up until about year 7 or 8, we were still using that hand operated elevator, which is pretty awesome, unless you're the one pulling the hemp rope, 180-year-old hemp rope. All of our bottling was done upstairs because that was before the bar was built on. So we were doing all of our bottling, processing, and that kind of thing upstairs. So, I would get all these pallets of glass bottles, and then I'd have to stand down there, and I'd have to pull this rope. And then I actually had several friends that would come over, and I'd be on the bottom, they'd be on top. And it was, that was just kind of the growing pains. That was the kind of the trade-off with the location versus kind of the usability of that building for what we were trying to do. And man, we made it work. And that elevator is actually electric now. We got my shoulders started going out, so we had to upgrade the thing, man. But yeah, I got a lot of love in that building. And Jonesborough is the really the foundation of Tennessee Hills. This is, it's where we were born as a brand, and that's going to be, hold a very special place in my heart for many years to come.
Nice. So 10 years on, when you look back at what all this has become, you got Bristol, Johnson City, Jonesborough. What stands out the most to you?
Man, I really think what stands out the most to me personally is the amount of support that we've had over the years and throughout the years, and people that have really got behind us. When we first started in Jonesborough, we didn't have enough money to even put merchandise on the shelves, and we just kept working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. There was points in there where Jessica would work the tasting bar. I actually got on a millwright crew, and I would go out of town for 7 days, make a little bit of money, come back in. I would run the stills and do the bottling with Jessica, and Jessica was holding the fort down kind of thing. Very grassroots. I mean, Jessica and I actually slept on an air mattress with my dog Jack inside the gift shop because I would come in and I'd run liquor all night, and then I'd go back out on the road kind of thing. And so, looking back on that and then thinking about where we are now, it's truly the support of the people that has got behind the brand, have believed in, not only Tennessee Hills, but the Callahans. That's the special thing about it. And then being able to evolve that into, buying the brewery in Johnson City, kind of taking that next leap, as a brand, putting our brand on a whole new category of products. So we're not only in the spirits business now, we got into the beer business. We were voted best craft brewery in the Tri-Cities immediately following our opening of that location. And then the cool thing about that too is, we had 4 employees in 2020, and that allowed Jessica and I to, start hiring people, start training people, start building that Tennessee Hills family, start evolving that culture into what we know it as now. Tennessee Hills is, it's a bunch of rowdy people that love each other and come to work and raise a lot of hell and sell a lot of liquor and booze, man. And that's what we're here for. Plainly said, if we don't do those couple of things, I'm out, But kind of seeing that happen in 2020, 2021, and then evolving that and partnering with Scott and Daphne Andrew during that, and then also in 2022 breaking ground on probably the largest privately owned distillery in the state. That's big stuff. And I get asked the question a lot. Did you think you'd ever be here? Well, the simple answer is like, hell yes, I did, but I didn't think it would happen within a decade. And, I knew that Jessica and I were going to dedicate our lives to Tennessee Hills, and we were going to make this our career. There's no going back. We cut the umbilical cord. We burned the bridges. We burned the ships kind of scenario. And, we were going to run it until it breaks, or we're going to end up somewhere like this. And thankfully for us, through all those things I just spoke about, Tennessee Hills just opened up the largest craft distillery and the largest brewery and distillery under one roof in North America, which is what we think it is. Prove us wrong. But yeah, so, we're also, we went from 4 employees to over 80 employees, 3 locations now. Technically, just purchased our 4th location up in Johnson County, which is going to give us an even deeper tie into that the Appalachian heritage with Copperhead Road, Steve Earle, getting into the Moonshine segment in a way that I feel comfortable with, not just like a gimmick, It's something meaningful in a product that tells the story of people of Appalachia and the culture. And so, we've came a long way in 10 years, man. And honestly, I'm still amazed, but I'm also ever grateful for the people that got us here, and then also the people that work for us and believe in us day in and day out.
Responsibly Rowdy, what does that mean to you, and where's that line from?
Responsibly Rowdy is pretty much our brand attitude that evolved over the years. I think, when Jessica and I were up and coming, being behind the tasting bar, setting that tone, setting that vibe when people come in our door, loud music, crazy jokes, getting people a little uncomfortable, making them laugh a little bit, creating that something they will always remember moment, I think is one thing that really solidified our brand. And, I like to be rowdy, man. I'm not going to lie to you. It's in my DNA. I like to be up-tempo, upbeat. I like to drink some cold beers. I like to have a lot of fun doing it. And, I think that's what separates us apart from, a lot of these other brands out there. A lot of these other brands are, we're a 200-year-old brand. We're going to be a little more pretentious, that kind of thing. No, man, we're new. We know we're new. We're going to make you remember coming to Tennessee Hills. And the way we're doing that is being a little bit rowdy, but also being a little responsible as well. And, we try to walk that knife edge as much as we can, especially me. But I like to set the tone with the rowdiness.
For the 10-year anniversary comeback in Jonesborough, what is the tone going to be like on that day?
Well, it's going to be, I've been thinking about this quite a bit. The tone of, the homecoming is what I like to call it in Jonesborough, because we've spent, the last several years up here really putting a focus on Bristol because it is such a monster of a facility. And Jessica and I have definitely had to be more on the wheel up here. I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days, and, I'm a little nervous, to be honest with you, because Jonesborough does have my heartstrings, and, I've always joked, and I think it's actually a real thing now that I told Jessica when I die, cut a hole in the floor of the Jonesborough bar and bury me there because I'm never leaving. And so I'm very excited, but with all the things that we've gone through in Jonesborough, it's going to be a little bit emotional too. And especially like when I'm looking back on all the things we had to overcome, not just getting the business started, being broke as hell, trying our best as a couple younger couple to make this thing successful. But some of the trials and tribulations we've had to overcome in Jonesborough, and how I feel about that situation, it's going to be a little hard for me to be okay with. But I plan on bringing the heat, man. Rowdy's back. Rowdy is back in Jonesborough. We're going to do our best to behave, and I can't wait to go down there and see a lot of familiar faces and have a couple beers and listen to some good music, and hopefully, we can rekindle some of the things we had going on in Jonesborough before, we built Bristol and Johnson City, because that is our home. And like I said, we're never going to leave. So looking forward to be back in town.
So you're bringing the heat. So you've talked about it on the podcast. You've talked about it now. Explain the time. I hope you know where this is going. You set your head on fire. What actually happened?
Well, that was rowdy. And, I always like to make people laugh. And so, and when you're in the liquor business, you can learn a couple tricks. But anyway, we had some military guys come in one night, and they gave me a military helmet, and I put it on, doused it in 102 proof corn liquor, and I set it on fire and go walking through the bar. And the look on everybody's faces was like, holy shit, what is he doing? But then everybody's just like, yeah, that's totally Steven, and started dying laughing, But that's the kind of thing that... you can't really do too much more of these days, I guess, but you never know when it's going to come back out. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody come out. Like I said, it's going to be a very emotional day for me and Jessica. Jessica and I went through a hell of a lot to get here. And, the message that I really want to get out to folks is just thank you so much for, supporting Tennessee Hills, supporting the Callahans, supporting the Tennessee Hills family of employees. And, really... as we look forward into the next decade, I feel like this year is the year that, we're officially on the launch pad and my hand's on the go button. And, this is the year that we really start to break out. Your support of our brand, is definitely appreciated. And, we would love to be a part of, your life moving forward for many years to come. And the only way we're going to be successful is, by the support of the local folks and beyond. And so we appreciate everything that you guys have done for us throughout the year, throughout the years. We've got a lot of family and friends out there that have stepped in and helped us when we need it most, and we definitely won't forget it. But definitely looking forward to seeing everybody in Jonesborough on July 18th, and it's going to be a hell of a day, man. We're bringing Rowdy back to Jonesborough, and can't wait to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.